Welcome back to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're honored to be joined by our next guest, Dr. Kimberly Clay. She's the founder and CEO, the Chief Executive Officer for Play Like a Girl. Dr. Kim, how are you doing?
I am great. Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
So let's start. This is a personal mission for you, and on your end, being someone who is research and STEM and scientific minded, but then seeing a gap for young women and girls. Give us some backstory, a personal history for Play Like a Girl.
Yeah, definitely. I grew up in rural Mississippi, not far from, Memphis area. And, one of the things that I keenly remember is that as a middle school girl, high school girl, I used to watch my girlfriends who were cheerleaders really stand on the sideline for football games. And most of their role was really to refill the bottles for the players and to provide healthy snacks and, if it was healthy indeed. And I always wondered, for the young women, many of them were athletes in their own right, why they weren't celebrated and elevated in the same way. Personally, I never participated in sport. At the time when I was coming through my high school, the only two sports at the time were track and field, and then softball. And those just weren't sports that I preferred. So I never really understood, for those who did in the spring play softball, why were they serving the young men? And it just struck me. It stuck with me and struck me at the time. And as I evolved in my own career, the world kind of took me in a number of different places and different routes in my career. I ended up starting my career at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta, famous right now. And with the work that I did at CDC, it was specifically focused on disease prevention and health promotion. So life would circle its way back around where now I was looking at overweight and obesity and lack of physical activity as a precursor to chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and cancer, which ended up being my research area. And in developing and designing programs for young women, we first initiated programming with the intention to address and combat the problem of childhood obesity. And we did that by first getting girls to just literally get active through play. And then with some funding from Emmitt Smith, NFL Hall of Famer, Dallas Cowboy, we were able to introduce our first sport program, which didn't happen to be football or flag football.
It was tennis.
Actually tennis, exactly. I then started thinking a little bit differently about what it is that we were doing, and revisited some of my own work in STEM, received some recognition and funding from ESPNW around further development of our program. And over time, we kind of tweaked, twerked, and evolved it to now really leveraging the skills that young women gain from sport to empower, to build confidence, to build leadership skills, to do all of the things that I didn't see happening for the girls on the sidelines with the water bottles, now leveraging that which they get from sport naturally to help propel them into STEM careers. Because while the two disciplines seem to be disparate, they actually travel quite nicely together in that girls drop out at twice the rate of boys from sport as they're going into high school. And the same happens in STEM disciplines as well. So we are leveraging one to really propel and help girls exceed in the other.
One of the things that stands out, and it's a statistic that you put on your website, is 94% of women in C-suite positions are former athletes. And to your point, that goes back to the discipline, the courage, the confidence, the empowerment that you receive as an athlete to realize I can do this, then carries forward in their life to create the opportunities and also knowing how to build relationships to where they then can really succeed at the highest levels. And so to your point, understanding the connection between sport, confidence, discipline, academics, all of these things, which then creates life success. And then to your point, carrying that forward within the STEM field is huge.
Yeah. Well, what is also interesting about that study, because that study is actually what shifted everything for us at Play Like a Girl. That study was released in 2015. The preceding year was the year that ESPNW awarded me the Toyota Everyday Hero Award, bringing me into the ESPN Women's Sports community, which is a very tight-knit community. It's invitation-only conference they host every year with the likes of Serena, their representatives and managers, Robin Roberts, all of the women that we envy and celebrate, in sport, this private community of women. And so the subsequent year is when ESPN and Ernst & Young actually rolled out this study. And what also provoked me with this study was that not only did these women, 94% of them report having played sport, 52% of them through college, but they then also indicated that they make hiring decisions based upon if a woman has a background in sport, because they know what they're buying. They know what they're getting for the value of the investment that the company is making in the salary and compensation package for that individual. And so for me, that was the light bulb. Even though I did not participate in an organized sport, I got the math on that especially for STEM in particular, STEM is one of the, core discipline areas where women earn more dollars. So the issue of gender wage gap, it's still there. It's everywhere across all industries, but the gap is not as great. It is not as wide as in several of the other areas, including sport. And so recognizing the skill sets that girls bring from sport into a STEM discipline, the real focus for us is making sure they make it through the critical middle school years, confident in their ability. Now, what research also shows is that girls compete at the same level academically with boys, even into high school. So girls aren't dropping out because they don't have the aptitude. They're dropping out because they lack the confidence that they can actually compete. In addition, Barbie, of all brands, right? Barbie invested in a research study a couple of years ago called the Dream Gap Study, which basically shows that what girls see and believe about their ability to be and do anything they wish or dream to be starts as early as 6 years old in terms of self-limiting belief. So by the time I get a girl in middle school, she's 12, 13 years old. In many cases, if mom and dad has said, your brother gets the Tonka truck, you get the doll, that's almost hard set by the time she gets to middle school and I'm intervening. So we have to also undo a lot of the cultural norms. We focus on exposing girls to more women in STEM careers so that they get to see real people who look like them. And then we actually take them out into corporate environments where they get to see a myriad of careers, not only in STEM, but especially in STEM, come to life, where, again, most girls, when you ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I think this is most kids in general from middle school. It's a teacher, maybe, a nurse, maybe, but a doctor, a celebrity, or a lawyer. Consistent. So we want to change those options. We want them to say, I want to be an engineer, I want to do robotics, I want to be a gamer even. And that's what we're beginning to see with the girls that we've been working with the last 4 to 5 years.
Talk about what a typical calendar would look like in terms of the programmatic structure. And then we'll talk about what it looks like now, obviously, with COVID-19 and just the pivots that are being necessary. But talk about typically what it would look like.
So we actually just reimagined our programming for the next year into the future, only for COVID to disrupt it again. But generally, a girl enters our programs coming into her rising 5th grade year as a camper. So she will participate in our camp during summer, fall, and spring break, and then repeat camp summer, fall, spring break of 6th grade year. Once she's completed camp, she then enters our clubs program, which is in the school environment in the day. during the day. And that's largely been because we worked in partnership with Dr. Jennifer Berry with Metro Nashville Public Schools this last year, identifying what the barriers were, especially for girls who need our programs most. So girls from indigent populations, non-English speaking as first language communities, and girls from poor and underserved communities. And what we recognized as the two main factors were a lack of parental involvement and a lack of transportation. So to overcome those barriers, we decided to build a program that would go into the school directly during the girls' lunchtime and intervene during that period. So we're doing what we call lunchtime mentoring during that time, where we're bringing those women from corporate into the school on their lunch breaks and during the lunch break of the girls to do intensive mentoring using our 10 Play Like a Girl principles, which is aligned to a 10-week curriculum. A girl continues in clubs in 6th and 7th and 8th grade. But in addition to what she's getting in her school environment during the school day, she also has access to our community-based programs, which are available to any girl in Metro Nashville. Now, we also draw girls from Kentucky, Illinois, Missouri, Atlanta, some parts of small parts of Georgia, Mississippi, and probably Alabama. That's the other state. So we've got girls coming into those community-based programs, which are largely either weekend or summer programs. So the girls in Nashville schools also get to participate in those, which are our makerspace workshops called STEM Saturday, which are once a month, the first Saturday of the month. This past year, we've been delivering them in partnership with Microsoft, which you've probably heard is in the middle of doing away with its stores. So everything for them is also moving virtually, which again, for us is a saving grace because we've been trying to figure out the pivot as well. As a part of that, we have also introduced e-mentoring with a number of other corporations, Postmates being one of them, with now being able to connect our girls to corporate women mentors who are not only in Nashville, but all across the world. We just had a call with Geodis, who we hope will be coming on as a partner as well. Global, major logistics company, headquartered right in Brentwood, but now has the ability to help us reach women all across the globe, connect them with our girls, and take the covers off of eyes and see STEM come alive in many different ways and many different careers and industries. That's, I think, the amazement for me out of what has been a really horrible experience the last several months, creating some new opportunities.
How can we help? I mean, already just hearing you talk about obviously the mentoring component and opening those sort of relationships, that's a huge piece. And obviously leveraging technology like Zoom now really affords anyone, like you said, around the world to be able to connect in. So that's an awesome opportunity for literally anyone. But what are some ways we can help?
The number one way is if you are with a company that has interest in any way of hosting a corporate field trip, sponsoring a program or event. Sponsorship and partnership is a great way to get started. As an individual mentor, volunteer, find a place where you can plug in directly with a girl. And all of this is available on our website where people can sign up at iplaylikeagirl.org. Spend some time going, from tab to tab, really studying some of the things that I'm saying. And then there's also some additional things there. And then, of course, the obvious. We always take donations. Now is the time, certainly, because Play Like a Girl, many people have no idea from the outside looking in. We are a small but mighty team of 2, and only one of us actually receives a salary. So I have done what I do for Play Like a Girl on a pro bono basis now for 10 years. And I was able to finally bring on an administrative assistant about 9 months ago, Hannah Pike. I love her. She's my girl. And we do everything you see and experience of Play Like a Girl, from delivery of programming to our social media. So one of our big foci for this year is bringing on more paid staff, but ensuring that we can also maintain our staff in this very difficult time. Hannah right now is on a significantly reduced schedule of time because we just completed PPP funded salary support for her. So PPP money just ran out. That's the payroll protection program money under the CARES Act in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And so now that those dollars are gone, you know, we have to be even the more judicious about how we're spending our time, which is largely right now on program development, you know, being ready. I just had another advisory meeting with the MMPS STEM education program this week, you know, waiting ready to see what the year is going to look like. And then secondly, I spend most of my days actually writing grants and seeking funds that way as well. So those are some core ways. We also year-round recruit board members. So if there are individuals who are interested in the governance side of things and really helping us to plan and grow strategically, that's another great way to get involved as well. And we have an amazing board chair, Marla Lamont, who came to us from Women in Technology Tennessee, bringing a wealth of her experience from both running that organization, but also working in technology herself. So great leadership, great opportunities to get involved.
Absolutely. I know you mentioned it before, but go ahead and wrap up and mention it again. Website, social media, phone numbers.
Yeah.
Where do we go to get
We
involved?
are the same everywhere. IPlayLikeAGirl.org is our website address. And then across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we're I Play Like a Girl on those platforms as well. So I encourage folks to visit, learn more, reach out to us. You know, phone, I'm just a phone call away. When you call, you get real people. So 615-601-1864 is the phone number. And certainly you can also email us through the website as well.
Well, Dr. Kim, thank you for all you and your team do. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. And thanks to cityCURRENT.